Oh boy, here's the rest of them coming. I'm not exactly a helpless 80-year-old, but I deserve to have a phone that works.
Yes, that woman here believes she deserves a functioning phone. But she's not necessarily weighing the narrow feature set differences between an Android, an iPhone, or that humane pin that turns your hand into a green screen. She's talking about one of these. A landline. Yes, one of those fixed communication devices that's tethered to a cord, unlike many of today's more modern conveniences. Now, you may never have had a landline, or you phased yours out many years ago for a wireless option. Consumer Affairs says 97% of Americans own a mobile phone, or about 325 million people. But out in California, American Telephone and Telegraph are preparing to abbreviate another one of its T's, as it's applying to end its obligation to service landlines in certain parts of the state. That application is currently pending with the state's Utilities Commission. But around the world, telecom providers are relying on things like fiber optics and Ethernet to deliver services, and are phasing out the use of old copper phone wires. Which may be a boon for the dudes who strip down abandoned houses or whatever, but this whole thing may leave certain customers without reliable communications options.
Now I have no phone, and they would not reconnect my landline because they said they were out of the business.
Now, just because cell phones have hit mass appeal, even this guy has one, doesn't mean that landlines aren't useful. After all, they're still in use in some places like, hotel front desks, police stations, that office your boss is forcing you to come back to because of the culture, aka a tanking real estate investment. And those who still rely on landline technology, like 911, do so because, even though we're talking tech that's more Alexander Graham Bell than Steve Jobs, wired phone service is still considered very dependable and very reliable. Our woman here has relied on landline service for 58 years. And only got her first cell phone last year after a move. But she now lives in a cell phone dead zone, which is less than ideal.
I had no safety. I had nothing to call law enforcement, an ambulance, anything that was an emergency. I had no way to get out.
She says she's now been without a landline for over a year since they cut the phone line back in 2023, rendering her a cord cutter that never wanted to be a cord cutter in the first place.
That blue building down there, I retired from the post office. I came up here. I could not get a new landline. They wouldn't install it. So I said, okay, well then let's transfer the landline I have down there to up here, which is across the street.
Yeah, instead of doing that, they disconnected the entire thing, and now she's trying to get it back. AT&T told CNN that they're not canceling landline service in California, and claims customers won't lose access to voice service should this waiver to stop servicing California landlines is granted by California's Public Utilities Commission. Telecoms are required to provide an alternative to landlines and devices that can convert analog signals to digital, but all that stuff can lead to expensive equipment upgrades. And experts say a shift away from landlines is most likely to impact people over 65, small business owners, and people in rural communities. Not to mention the fans of old Kiefer Sutherland movies.
Don't even think about leaving that booth.
Wrong number, pal.
CNN spoke with someone from the research and consulting company Gartner, who estimated that only 5% of landlines will remain by 2030. But with about 100 million of the things still active, it's believed it'll still take decades to finally pull the plug. In this woman's community, she says most people use landlines as it's the most reliable form of communication.
Look what they did to me. How many little old ladies out there has this happened to and they didn't know how to fight it? Come on. I'm a fighter.
That California Utility Commission is holding hearings through March as to whether or not AT&T should be required to keep providing POTS upon request, also known as plain old telephone service. And as our woman here notes, that's pretty much all she wants.
I'm just a customer who wants to have communication. And they've done it for 58 years. What is the problem?
Oh, hold on. I'm actually getting a phone call right now. Hello? Yeah. Oh, you want me to tell them to subscribe to @the News Refresh on YouTube for new news videos every single day? And they're sometimes funny and sometimes interesting? And it's free? It doesn't cost them anything? And this is a real phone call? Yeah, great. Sorry, that was a real phone call.